He is already with us.
Yes.
Can you make him
co-host? I made him co-host.
Okay, great. So then we can start, right?
Yes, I think we are on Facebook. I checked it. Yes, we are on Facebook, so we can start it.
Hello to everybody. Christos Anviat, Christos Voskres. I don't know how it will be in English, but it's better to keep the authenticity. So now we are at the 4th InnoVillage Workshops, and we aim to focus on product and talent scaling. Today we have Eugen Boico with us. He has almost 25 years of experience in designing, launching, and promoting products and services in Moldova and abroad. So he will share with us essential concepts and methods of designing and scaling a creative product in a modern global environment. As well, we will discuss crucial topics such as value creation, customer discovery, and market growth. Eugen is the founder of Publicis, a designer and a creative studio leader. Also, he will share his experience in building and scaling the value of one's creative talent. So, creative talents, keep eyes and ears on Eugen, because you will discover, maybe starting with this event, your path in career development and your forming and developing as talent. Eugen?
Yes, hello. I hope everybody.
Welcome.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
How do you feel along with so many beautiful girls? All in
well,
one
you know, I'm a happy father of 2 girls, and also then I have a beautiful wife, and I have a cat who happens to be a girl as well. So I'm okay with girls. I'm actually feeling very comfortable. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Let me maybe dive into the presentation right away.
Sure.
Yep. So you should see now a big blue screen, and right now you should see a logo, a colorful logo, and the words Energy Publicis on it. You see that, right?
Yes,
of course.
Yeah, a couple of words about me first. Thanks for the presentation, of course, for the introduction. But yeah, I'm doing marketing and advertising here in Moldova for almost 25 years now. I'm a little bit scared when I say these figures, because it still feels like I began yesterday. It doesn't feel like I'm doing this for 25 years. In many ways, this is because this industry is probably one of the fastest changing industries everywhere in the world. Creative industries, I think, are the fastest changing industries. I've worked on many different markets. I've worked on telecom market, which is very competitive, on technologies markets, but I also worked in tourism. And, you know, it happened so that one of the key works of my agency is the country brand of Moldova, the Tree of Life. Here you have Noroc. Everybody knows what Noroc means. For those who don't know, Noroc is actually the way we greet each other here in Moldova. Yeah, and it happened so that I worked on the Tree of Life. I worked on the Wine of Moldova brand. I worked on a couple of destination brands. I'll tell you a little bit more in the presentation. But today, you know, what I thought that it would be great if today we would dive deeper together into understanding how do we create our product? How do we make our product so much so that, you know, it doesn't need promoting so much, that it promotes itself? And I would like to begin with a little exercise. You have in front of you a piece of steak. This steak is a little different from regular steak. It's different in a sense that it has a bit of gold foil on top. You know, you can see that. It's the thin gold foil. You know what I'm talking about. The cost of this gold foil is about 10 euros. But you have a steak in front of you. It's a steak that you can get in a restaurant. Try to imagine the price for the steak in your head. You don't need to say it. The exercises that we will do today, many of them are introspective. You'll have to think for yourself. So just think about it. How much does this steak cost? How do you think? You have a figure, and I'm happy to tell you that the price of the steak is $1,000, and it's very popular. People buy it. But just having what you have here, you have a steak and you have a price. Try to ask yourself, do you think it's expensive? Do you think it's a little bit too expensive, maybe? I'll tell you my feeling. I think it's really expensive. I mean, $1,000 for a steak, it makes no sense to pay $1,000 for a steak. Who would order a steak for $1,000? And this is the reflex that we have. But I'll have to tell you a little bit more about this steak. This steak is served in a restaurant that is called Nusret. And this restaurant is founded by a guy who is known everywhere in the world under the alias of Salt Bay. Maybe some of you know this Salt Bay guy. He became popular because he had a very viral video on the internet. The way he was pouring the salt on the meat. You can see it in his hand. This is his epic video. And actually, during the pandemics and right after the pandemics, when all the HoReCa industry was, having deep troubles, Nusret was actually growing. He managed to open a couple of restaurants everywhere in the world. And this is his signature steak. It's a gold foil steak. And it costs anywhere around $300 to $1,000 in his restaurants, depending on the location. And you suddenly think, well, maybe it's not that expensive anymore. So this is the dilemma that I want to start with. Not really a dilemma, but actually a law that I've learned the hard way. I had to work 20 years to understand this law. And this law sounds like this. When the value of your product is unclear, it will always seem too expensive, no matter how good it is. If the value what you present as a touristic product, or if the value that you present as a talent, because a talent is also a kind of a product, is not clear, it will always seem expensive. That's why so often companies that launch their products on the market, they're faced with the response from the customers, but this is too expensive, and they're forced to reduce the price. We work with the beginning entrepreneurs here in Moldova, and 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs think that the problem that they have is the price, that this is the key barrier why people do not consume the product that they have, when in fact it's not the price. It's actually the fact that the value of the product they propose is not clear. So this is something we will dive into together today. It's understanding what is the value of the product that we have, how do we maximize the value of the product that we have, and how do we make it so that the price seems not expensive, but quite the contrary. But because the moment you understand the value of the product, you actually say, well, the price is not that high. The price is pretty good. And we'll start probably with the fact that, just to put ourselves in perspective, you can see Moldova as a country, the little red dot on this huge, huge, huge map. And this makes you think, first of all, in tourism, I hear this very often, but Moldova has nothing to offer in terms of tourism. When people will choose between Moldova and Italy and France and other incredible destinations, Moldova doesn't have anything to compete with them. This is what I've been hearing again and again from people inside the country. And ironically, I didn't hear this at all from the people outside the country. Why? Because when we discuss about products, especially about destinations and especially about tourism, we tend to think that the customers have one choice in their life, where to go. And I say, well, if I have to go somewhere, I'd rather go to a popular touristic destination. But the truth is different. If you take a look at the statistics, tourists can visit as many as several hundred places in their lifetime. Some tourists can visit thousands of places in their lifetime. So we are not in competition. Although we are a small red dot in a huge world map, this is not a case when we have to fight with other countries to offer something better. This is the case when we have to tell our own story and we have to celebrate the product that we have. So let's talk a little bit about the product. I like to make my sessions interactive. So whenever you feel I'm going too fast or I'm saying too many words or I'm not very clear, please either raise your hand. I don't know if there is a way to raise hand on Zoom. I think there is a way, right? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Either raise your hand or just say, stop, Eugen, explain that or explain that. It's fine. I'm okay with that. Yeah, you can stop me. So
Eugen,
Yeah.
We have some questions in the chat. I will be the chat girl, so I periodically will update what do we have on the chat. Elena Balatel is asking, how about if the price is too low, underestimated? What do we do? Maybe.
Well, the simple answer to this is get out of this. You know, listen to what I'm going to tell you today. I'll give you a couple of tools. Use the tools to better understand and increase the value of the product and get out of this trap, because a low price is really a trap. Low price works for economies of scale. You know, when you have a huge manufacturing facility or when you have a software product that is very easy to scale, it works there. You know, we have clients like that. One of our clients is the local network of retail clothing stores that are called Azart. Maybe you've heard about Azart.
Yep.
With their scale and with their product, it works. They can work with low price. But if you have a creative product, or if you're a creative talent, I think your strategy should be to get out of the low price segment. To the contrary, you should seek ways to maximize the value of the product and maximize the profit. And I'll tell you how to do that if you bear with me. Yeah. Do we have more questions, or can I go on?
I think we can go on.
All right, perfect. So first, let's begin with a little bit of theory. I'll be quite obvious what I'm going to tell you right now, but then I think I'll be not that obvious. So if you take a look at the product, usually the questions that we have is how. How do we sell more? How do we get the customers? How do we package the product? How do we get the attention of the customers? I'm in advertising communication. This is the question I get all the time. I have companies, entrepreneurs coming to me and saying, this is my product. How do I get more sales? How do I attract more attention? But very few actually think about what the product is. Many think that it's a given. You know, I have this product, so yeah, I have to deal with it. I don't ask questions about what it is, but I'd rather ask questions how to promote it. Well, what we are going to do today, we're going to step back and we're going to work a little bit with what. We're going to understand better what the product is, what makes it powerful, what makes it valuable. And believe me, the moment you nail the what, the moment your what is strong, how actually becomes evident. And this is the trap most of the entrepreneurs get into. They're so obsessed with how, they don't work on what, and they keep trying to find out more things about the how, when actually their solution would be working with what. I'm a bit philosophical right now, but let's get into more practical things. So any product actually has two dimensions. One dimension is a functional dimension, and the other dimension is the value dimension. And I'll give you an example. First, I'm going to ask you, do any of you guys know what is the speed the processor of your smartphone is working at? And if you know, write in chat. I'm seeing here how many messages are in chat. If you know the speed of the processor in your smartphone, please write it. How many? I'm not going to tell you the units. Well, what is the speed of the processor that you have? And you know, most of you will struggle with this. You don't know this. If I'll ask you how much RAM you have, okay, we have somebody waiting to answer as well. Okay, so if I'll ask you how much RAM you have, random access memory, you will struggle again. You know how many gigabytes you have to store, but you don't know what is the operating memory of your device. This is the functional aspect of your smartphone. It means you have some kind of processors, you have some motherboards, you have some silicon, you have some metal, you have some wires. This is what the product actually is, functionally. But value is something else. Value is how does it make me feel? Value is what it means to me. You know, for you, a phone may be, let's say, a tool to get by in your day-to-day work. Your phone can be a mean of a creative expression. Your phone can be an expression of yourself, of your artistic abilities. Take photos with your phone. You know, we value so much the cameras on the phone. Now we're talking about the value. It's not so much what it is, but it's much more what it means to us. I'll give you more examples. For instance, functionally, what you have here is a Black Rock Desert in northern Nevada in the United States. And it's just a desert. It's a sky, and then you have a bit of sand on the floor, and that's it. But in terms of value, it's a huge thing, because this is where Burning Man happens. And it's not anymore about the functional aspect. It's about the value. It's about how it makes people feel. I think you know about the Burning Man Festival. It happens in this desert for more than 10 years right now, and it's hugely successful. People love to go there and spend their time there. I'll give you another example that we know a little better. Orheilvik is just, an architectural, sorry, not architect, archaeological site, and it's an interesting location nature-wise. You have this amphitheater. Yeah, but functionally, it's a bit of land in a strange shape with a bit of river, and then you have a little church there. This is the functional element of this destination. But value is something else. For instance, as an example of value is the Discovery Festival. And suddenly this location means a lot to the people, especially to the people coming there. And you know, Discovery from year to year, it gets bigger and bigger. We're seeing an increase of interest of people for this festival. And I hope you understand now a little bit the difference about the functional aspect and the value aspect. So function is what it actually is, and value what it means to the customer. Ironically, most of the investment is about the functional aspect. You know, you run a hotel, you think, all right, I need to add another room, or I need to remodel the bathroom, or I need to work on the road to the hotel, or I need to change the menu of the restaurant. This is all functional investment. You invest in the function of the location. However, the investment should be in the value. And I'll give you another question. How do you invest in the value? You can ask me, okay, I understand how do I remodel the bathroom in a hotel, but how do I invest in value? Well, let's take a look at big companies. How do they do that? And I love this example. Launch of iPhone 10 by Apple. They launch an absolutely new format that has no button on the face. And you know that Apple presentations, each second of the presentation can cost billions, because the sales of the device depends on what you tell on the show, on what you tell during the presentation. And you have here Craig Federighi, who is the marketing director of Apple, presenting a new functionality at that time that is called Animoji. So he has this little Poomoji, and he's actually showcasing how this Poomoji records his face and his voice and can be sent to his friends. You would say that he's probably wasting billions of dollars presenting this at that time. You should rather speak about the camera, about the megapixels, about the screen, about the quality of the screen. But he's talking about Animoji and presenting a Poomoji. But he's doing exactly that. He's investing in value of the product. Why? Because my 9-year-old, when she broke her iPhone, second-hand iPhone, of course, she said, Dad, you can buy me any phone you like, anyone. It can be second-hand, it can be broken even, but it should be 10 and more. And I say, well, why should it be 10 and more? We can take you an iPhone 8, you'll have more memory, you'll do photos. She said, no, I want Animoji. This is the way Apple invests in the value of the product. They invest in something that is meaningful to the customers. How does Apple do that? How do they understand the value of the product? All right, this is something we can learn from. What they do very careful observation of how their products and the products of their competitors are being used. You have here a photo of a customer testing an Apple keyboard, the Magic Keyboard, the little keyboard you see there. And they have as many as 130 sensors on the customer while he's typing words using this keyboard. They are not asking the customer, do you like the product or not? They simply give it to them and they say, type 2,000 words. We step back, we turn on the cameras, and we just observe. This is something that we really, really underestimate, which is observing the way our customers use our products, but also observing the way the customers of our competitors use their products. And it's literally observe. It's not question. It's not do surveys. It's not asking them, did you like the menu in my restaurant? Of course, they will tell you they like them. Nobody wants to be, everybody wants to be nice. You cannot confront the customer with direct questions. You have to instead observe carefully, how do they consume your product? This is the first thing that we can learn. And by example, I'm going to give you another company that is called Samsung. They have their presentation and they scream loud on this huge projector screen. They say, our phone is the first phone that can record video in 8K. They are investing into the function because 8K is just figures. And ironically, the moment they launch this, customers very quickly understand that you can actually record a maximum of 20 minutes of 8K footage on your brand new phone. Why? Because 8K takes so much space. But then after you recorded just 20 minutes, you cannot view it because there are no consumer-friendly 8K TV sets. So it's a pure investment in function. Apple has usually not the last generation hardware, but a couple generations back hardware. Their screens are not the best screens. Their processors are not the fastest processors, and they don't really care. What they care is increasing the value of their product. They don't care about numbers and figures and the functional aspect. So here you have the first assignment. And you know what? I'm going to show these assignments on the screen. If you have your mobiles with you, I will kindly ask you to photograph the assignments that I give you. And when you have a moment, think about these assignments. So first one sounds like this. Observe how the customers use your product carefully. What details stand out? And most important thing, what are the magics and the miseries of using the service or of consuming your product? What does it mean, magic and misery? You know, our experience, if we imagine that we are customers, our experience and our journey is never linear. The moment you start an experience with a certain product or service, you have moments when you go, wow, that's interesting, that's beautiful, and it's a magic moment. Or you go for moments when you go, ooh, that's not nice, I feel uncomfortable. That's a misery moment. Many years ago, I worked at Voxtel, at the local telecom provider, mobile operator. And we started working in 98. I started working in 98 and we launched Voxtel in 98. And around 2003, Voxtel was about to come out as a competitor. We were terrified. And we said, all right, let's do a survey and ask our customers, what is the most precious, the most beautiful thing for them in their history with Voxtel? So we asked about 2,000 customers and we gave them a simple question. Tell us what was the most magical moment for you with Voxtel. Why did we ask that? For a simple reason, to understand what do customers appreciate and to speak about it, to celebrate about it. I was sure, because I was in the marketing department, I was sure they will say, oh, I adored your discounts, your mobiles that you gave for free. I adored all the beautiful bonus minutes that you gave us, the bonus SMSs that you gave us. But ironically, number one answer was, the most magical moment was when you sent me an SMS for my birthday. Yes, this was the early days when people didn't really get this kind of messages for their birthdays. But for us, it was a cold shower. We suddenly understood that, wait a second, this is actually what is valuable to the people. What they appreciate is the moment of attention that you give them. A very honest, non-transactional moment of attention. So what I come here with is, as an assignment for you, is to first think a little bit and observe how the customers use your product and try and understand what are the magic moments and what are the misery moments. But we move on. And to move on, we'll make another exercise. Here is a typical drill that you can buy in a store. And what I'm going to ask you, when a man goes and buys a drill in the store, you'll have to imagine you're a man, you'll have to empathize with me and imagine that. But when a man goes into the store and buys a drill, what is he actually buying? Is he buying a drill? Or is he buying something else? And if you have your answers, please write it in the chat. And Tatiana, I will kindly ask you to help me and tell me what are the answers. So what is a man actually buying in a construction store when they buy a drill? Well, let's put it this way. What a customer is actually buying when they buy a drill?
We have one answer. Mrs. Zala is telling us the ease of doing holes.
He's buying the ease of doing holes. Well, you know what? I think he's actually buying a hole in the wall when he buys a drill. But moreover, he's not only buying a hole, he's buying the feeling that he's gospodar. If he just needed a hole in the wall, he would probably call his kumetra and say, come over and just, help me make a hole. I just need a hole. But he needs to feel gospodar. Gospodar means a handyman, somebody who, keeps the house and the household under control and actually runs it well. So here we discover the notion of jobs to be done. The actual job to be done of this customer is not to buy a drill. It's not to buy a piece of hardware. The actual job to be done of this customer is a little different. Is to make his wife happy and finally do the drills in the holes to hang all the art. or to make himself feel in control. That's why when you come to a construction store, you don't see just one drill. You see a huge number of drills, and some of them sit better in the hand. Some of them sit worse in the hand. And when customers buy them, they rarely ask, but what is the power of this drill? But how does it, how does it operate? Tell me how many rotations per minute it can do. Some people ask, the professionals, but most people come, they take the drill, they feel it in their hand and say, yeah, I'm going to look great with this drill in my hand. So I'm going to buy it. So the second question that I suggest to think about is, what are the actual jobs to be done of a tourist when he comes to a destination? He's not buying a ticket he's not buying a night in a hotel, he's buying something else. He's not buying a ticket to a certain destination, he is buying something else. They are buying something else. So what is it exactly that they buy? And to help us with that, I've addressed an AI model, the OpenAI, the ChatGPT-4, and I said, tell me what are the jobs to be done of a tourist. And please see what the OpenAI actually gave me, the ChatGPT. So they say, first, one of their jobs to be done of the tourists is to create lasting memories. This is quite interesting. So people buy tickets, people buy hotel rooms, people buy nights to create lasting memories. Second is to learn and grow. This is also very interesting. That what is their job to be done is to expand their horizon by learning about different cultures, histories, and languages. And suddenly Moldova becomes relevant. We are not competing with the other countries. We do have something to tell them in terms of culture, in terms of histories, in terms of language. Another job to be done is to escape daily routine, as simple as that. You see, traveling can provide a break from day-to-day life, offering tourists an opportunity to recharge and reset. Recharge and reset. Another one, connect with nature. Another one, to strengthen relationships. Some of the people travel and see it as an opportunity to bond better with their friends, with their partners or relatives. And these are just 5 jobs to be done. There are 5 more. So it's to achieve personal challenges. This is very interesting. I asked myself, and I was working with Dima Voloshin and Simpals on their marathon, and I was trying to understand, why do people run marathons? What's the point of exhausting yourself and running 20 or even 40 kilometers? And it's exactly that. Their job to be done is to achieve a personal challenge. Another one is to pursue hobbies and interests. People travel and people go to locations because they pursue their hobbies and interests. So if you happen to have a pottery station somewhere near your tourist site, it can happen that a lot of people will come just to pursue their hobby and interest, to see another technique. Another job to be done is to expand social networks, because traveling is an opportunity to meet new people, to make friends, to broaden their social circles. Another reason, the 9th, is to improve their physical and mental well-being. This is very interesting. I thought that it's only my case, that when I travel, even if the travel itself is exhausting, I feel recharged mentally. I feel that my well-being is improved, but it's actually relevant for a lot of people. And finally, some people travel to support a cause or give back. So as you see here in this list of jobs to be done, there is nothing about sleep a night in a hotel. There is nothing about have a nice meal. There is nothing about, experience beautiful service. People come with other thoughts in mind. And this is your second assignment, which is to think, what are actually the jobs to be done that your product helps achieve? You have a tourist destination, you have a location, you have a little pensioni, you have a little hotel, you have doesn't matter. But what kind of jobs to be done can your product help achieve? And the second is, how can you amplify the impact? Let's assume that nearby your tourist location, there is a little pottery station, as I was suggesting earlier. There is a potter and he's doing some pottery. And some people come, the jobs to be done that you can cater to is the hobby of pottery. How can you amplify that? Well, suddenly everything becomes very clear. You can write a story before the tourist comes over. You can create an interesting journey for the tourist while he is there. You can ask the master, the craftsman, about their journey. You can ask about special techniques, and you can amplify that by delivering all this to the tourist. But it's just one example. You can really analyze your product and understand very clearly what are the jobs to be done that we could cater to with our product. And this is where the value of the product actually is. It's not in the night spent in the hotel, and it's not in the menu of the restaurant. It's not just in the night spent in the hotel and the menu of the restaurant. Moving forward, I think many of you are aware about the human needs pyramid that was first developed by Maslow. And we start learning marketing using this pyramid. We say that at the basis there are physiological needs. We all want to feel safe. We all need nutrition. We all need basic stuff like air, sleep, shelter. Then the next one, sorry, the first one is physiological. The next one is safety. If we have nutrition, if we have water, air, and place to sleep, we suddenly need to feel safe. Then going forward, if we feel safe, we suddenly have social needs. We want to share this with somebody. We want to have relationship. If we have them, as we are a social animal, we need esteem needs. We need to have a positive evaluation from the others, dignity. And finally, if we have everything that we have mentioned, we have the self-actualization needs. We seek self-fulfillment. We seek growth, unity, understanding. This has been a basic tool for marketers for many years, because we were absolutely sure at that time that we should do products, we should create products that respond to the needs of the customers. And I can tell you that this pyramid today has a certain anthropological value, but it's a pointless tool from the marketing point of view, because we don't discuss anymore the needs of the customers, but we actually discuss the value of the product and the human value that the product brings. And there is another pyramid here, and we'll work on it with you together. So basically, any product on the market responds to a number of human values. And let's take a better look at them. We start with functional value of a product. For instance, a product can save me time. A product can help me avoid hassles. A product connects me with somebody else. You could take, for instance, Uber, and you could say that, yes, Uber responds to these functional values or covers these functional values. Uber saves times. Uber helps you avoid hassles. You don't have to talk to the taxi driver. You don't have to haggle about the price. Uber actually keeps you connected because everything happens online. Uber reduces a number of risks. So you will see that many great products are actually in this area of functional value. But as we go further beyond the functional value, there is emotional value. For instance, you have products that reduce anxiety, products that provide a sense of reward, products that fulfill your need for nostalgia, products that are simply beautiful, that have design and aesthetics, products that have therapeutic value, that have the wellness value, products that have fun and entertainment, attractiveness. This is emotional, but this is not the top of the top of the pyramid. Let's go further and discover more the top of the pyramid. Some of the products provide life-changing value. There are products that provide hope. There are products that help you understand who you are, where you are, self-actualization. There are products that provide the feeling of belonging, of affiliation, heirloom, that also give you motivation. And on top of the pyramid is self-transcendence. Well, if we take a typical tourist product, we could say that we are somewhere at the bottom. Because, we help customers avoid the hassle, we save them some time, but it could be somewhere in the top as well. To be honest, I have a feeling that our project of the Tree of Life sits somewhere in the top, because the moment we've launched it, we've seen a strong feeling of belonging in people, because they said, oh yeah, I have this kind of carpet in my grandma's living room, so I connect to this. And they understand that many people connect to this. So suddenly we provided the value of belonging and affiliation. Some of the people said, oh, this is so beautiful that you've taken the sign that exists for centuries and you've brought it back using this beautiful logo. So you have the heirloom, you have the recognition of the heritage. Some of the people said, Well, there is hope. If we can do something like that, there is hope that we will have more tourists. So yeah, if you didn't take the photos of this, actually, I'm going to provide the PDF of the presentation. You'll have the chance to take a better look at this pyramid. I suggest that you move from the needs pyramid to the human value pyramid, the one that you have here, and ask yourself simple questions, which are, what are the human values that my product can cover out of the pyramid that we have seen? You could have a situation when a couple of them are functional. It's okay. But as a creative product, you need to have things that cover emotional values as well, and maybe even higher in the pyramid. Especially creative products, they are created to inspire. They are created to provoke emotion. Some of the best creative products actually have a very deep impact and change attitudes about things. If you ask me what is the strongest impact a creative product can have, is to actually change your attitude about something. And we have that with Moldova. People come to Moldova hoping for one thing. They stay here, they discover other people, they go for certain experiences, and they come back with a change in their attitude. And then finally, you can ask yourself, what actually does a happy client look like? Do they simply look well-rested and well-fed? Or what is the change we actually want to create in the client for them to be happy, based on the list of values that I have just described before now? All right, I hope everything is clear until now. I see that we have 6 messages in the chat. Do we have more questions? Or can we move on?
Yelena Balatel is sharing us the idea about memories, experience, and she says everything is clear.
All right, brilliant. I'm happy everything is clear. Let's move on then. All right, next truth about a product. A good creative product is not a transaction, it's a journey. This is something I've learned along the way as well. It's quite dangerous to be in the transaction territory. What a transaction means. I give you the money, you give me what you have. That's it. It's a transaction. I'm in a creative business. What I actually sell, if you ask me, I don't sell design. I sell hope. I sell power. I sell care. This is what I provide to our customers. We rarely provide purely design or purely, strategies. This is what we actually give them. We give them hope. We give them power. We give them care. And we understand perfectly that what we have with our customers is not a transaction, it's a journey. They decide to take this journey with us, and they hope on this journey. So the next way to understand better the value of your product is to see it as a journey. What kind of journey do you offer to the customer? Actually, many big international brands use this tool, and I'm going to show you how one huge international brand uses this tool to better understand and increase the value of their product. Here you go. Here you have Starbucks. And this is a tool that they use. It's called Customer Journey Map. And what I suggest is that you build this kind of customer journey map for your product as well. But let me tell you how it works. So horizontally, you have all the steps of the journey. In case of Starbucks, it begins with you in the office. You're not even in the coffee shop. And it goes through the whole experience that you have back to the car. So, you leave the office, you go with the car, you have the Starbucks experience, you leave the Starbucks, and then you're back in the car. So this is horizontally. But vertically, you have a baseline, which is actually neutral emotional state. And then you have higher than the baseline is what Starbucks calls an enriched experience, something that is great. And under the baseline, they call it a poached experience. Poached means a reduced experience, an experience that is compromised. And you can see how they map the journey of the customer, starting with the office. Office is the baseline. You're there in the car, and they say, you're a little worried in the car, a little worried that you may not have the parking lot, or a little worried that Starbucks can be closed, or you're worried about the queue. Then you arrive there, and you have the walk-in, and you can have a whole palette of emotions. There is aroma that actually enriches your experience, and you feel, the smell of the coffee. You have the ambience that is somewhat neutral, but then you also notice that it's loud. And sometimes in some of the Starbucks, when you enter, it may be a little cold. But we go forward. Then you have the line experience. You wait in the line, you order. In the ordering, you may have a fake greeting. You know, when the Starbucks personnel, they say, oh, hello, and this is fake. Obviously, this reduces your experience. You have the factory line as well, the fact that it all looks like a factory. Maybe this is something that would also reduce your experience. But then as you go forward, you know, you pay, you sit down, and then you take your drink and you drink. And here, once again, you can have a palette of experiences. People can be polite with you, and this enriches your experience. You can feel confined at a certain point, you know, in Starbucks, especially if it's very busy, you get a little spot there and you feel confined. This reduces your experience. Yeah, and this is how Starbucks maps the journey of their customer to better understand the emotional state of the customer at each point of their journey. And actually to address that, to say, well, you know, we can't afford to have people walking into a cold environment. It needs to be warm. Or we can't afford to have fake greetings. So let's work on that. Let's maybe keep our greetings real. Let's maybe talk to our sales personnel and work with them to have the greetings as polite and as honest as possible. You know, we should work with the fact that people feel confined. So maybe we can do something with that. We should work with the fact that people feel that it's too loud. And you could see in some of the Starbucks shops, they have nice separators that actually separate you from the others and reduce the loudness. Yeah, and this is a great tool to understand how can you improve the emotional state of the customer during this journey, and what are the touch points that you need to address to improve that. It's very easy to do. You can take a customer by hand, you can pretend to be a customer, or you can, you know, ask a good friend of yours, please take my product, but while you take it, please fill this little quick questionnaire for yourself and be honest about it. How do you feel? Do you feel happy in that moment, or do you feel bad in that moment? Coming back to that magic and misery and observation. This is a great observation tool, and it's used by lots of experienced companies in the world, especially companies in HoReCa and in tourism. So this is your next assignment, to map the customer journey of your product and to ask yourself, how can you enrich the experience of the customer during this journey? And try to be as detailed as possible. You know, you can't have just 3 steps. Greeting of the customer, consumption of the product, goodbye of the customer. No. It can be as capillary as the first greeting, or even what does the customer feel before consuming our product, before even knowing about us? What do they feel when they know us? Do they feel insecure? Do they feel anxious? Do they have trust issues? All right, they arrive to our location. What do they see when they arrive? How does that make them feel? They're greeted by our personnel. What do they feel at that point? They get the keys to the room, for instance. How does that happen? They want to set the Wi-Fi. How does Wi-Fi work, or it doesn't work? So you map it as capillary as possible. And, you know, ideally you ask somebody else to do this for you, because you're the owner of the product. You'll try to excuse it sometimes, or sometimes you can be too harsh on your own product, and you could simply say, oh, it's all bad, the customer is all unhappy all the time. It's not true. You need to see with the customer's eyes. So ideally you should ask somebody else to do it for you. And then you see the map and you say, all right, how can we enrich it? Where is the lowest low? How can we work with the lowest low? Oh, look at this high. Maybe we could celebrate that. Maybe we could turn this into a tradition. In Starbucks, it's exactly the point when the Starbucks personnel, they ask you your name and they get your name wrong. 9 out of 10 times they will get your name wrong. For instance, for me, I'm trying to be as clear as possible, and I say my name is Eugene in English-speaking countries, and they always get it wrong. They spell it in a wrong way. If you ask me, it's a fun part of the journey, because it's a moment that gives you a smile. And I have a feeling that Starbucks is actually encouraging this, that they tell their personnel, whenever the customer tells you their name, try to misspell it, write it wrong, because it puts a smile on their face. It's a thing about Starbucks, you know. It suddenly became a ritual about Starbucks. You can find this kind of rituals when you map the journey carefully. All right. So what I've given you until now is a couple of tools on how we better understand the value of our product. And the moment we understood the value of our product, how we can actually enrich the value of our product. So we're working with what of the product? We're filling it with value, we're filling it with meaning. We're not simply thinking about what kind of slogan should I write for people to buy more of my product. No, first we work on the product. I can tell you that in today's economy, many successful companies don't really rely on marketing. They rely on creating a great product. Like a good example of this is Apple. Yes, Apple does some marketing sometimes, but you'll be surprised. You go to the social networks of Apple, to their Facebook page, and you'll have a couple of posts for the last 10 years. They don't care about that. They are obsessed with the quality and the value of their product. So in modern economy, before working on marketing and before thinking on how to promote, first thing that you need to do is to work on the product itself, to work on the what. And I've given you a couple of tools on how to work on the what. And hopefully you worked with your product, you found the value, you enriched the value of your product, and you're ready to promote. So then the question is, all right, we worked a little bit on what, but let's get back to how. How do I promote? How do I push it forward? Well, in 9 out of 10 cases, once again, especially when we speak about creative products, we should understand that a product is actually a story. And storytelling is actually the best tool today to promote your product. But storytelling is a tricky thing, and story is also a tricky thing. There can be different stories. Just telling something about your product is not yet a story. And I'm going to give you another tool that we actually use from time to time that is called a brand arc story or a brand story arc. It's taken from comic books. Many comic books use this principle, a so-called story arc principle. It's taken from movies as well, but it has several components when you tell the story of your product or your brand. First, you need to understand the objectives. What are the goals that you plan to achieve? Second, you need to understand what is the problem. Then we come to the thing that we discovered a little earlier. It's the what. On one hand, what important lesson or fact did we learn about the problem? Or what is our product going to offer? And here we have the big idea. It's actually what is the one thing that we want the customers to remember? The moment we're told that, it's not over yet. We have to say, so what? That we offered this big idea. And we need to speak about the impact of our idea on the environment, on the market, on the business issues. And finally, which is the most important, is the now what. Okay, you told me all the story. Okay, now what? What should I do? It looks a little philosophical right now, but I will show you a very clear example that goes through this framework. So imagine it's the year 2014, and this is our tourism identity in Moldova. And we have here a bit of sea, a bit of mountain, and a bit of beach, exactly what Moldova has: a sea, a mountain, and a beach side. Of course, I'm saying this ironically, because this logo or this brand, it's trying to look like many other brands. So we identify two things. We identify three things, actually. What is our objective when we start a project like this? Of course, we want to promote, we want to have more attention worldwide. We want to promote a stream of tourists to our country. But what is the problem that we see? The problem that we see is that we are trying to copy a bunch of people who tried to copy someone else. So it's a copy of a copy. And what do we learn in this? We learn in this that this logo, this brand tells no story about Moldova. It's being generic. It could be applied to any other country. And then we work on a new brand, and suddenly, the Tree of Life appears, the brand of Tree of Life appears, and suddenly it's a different story. We said that we are not going to be generic. We will tell the story of the country. We will only speak about things that we actually have. We are not going to promise that the things that we don't have. And this is how a big idea actually appears. And the big idea is very simple. Let's celebrate to the maximum and do it nicely, everything that we actually have. Let's not try and pretend and speak about things that we don't have. You have this big idea, you come with this what, as I told you a bit earlier, a lot of people connect to it because it actually, you know, looks a lot like the carpet people have in their houses. And suddenly it's embraced. Suddenly it looks different from everybody else. Suddenly people start talking about it, but it's not over. The story has not finished. So the question is, so what? Well, we say, all right, we want it to be applied. So let's create different variations of this brand. You have the complete logo, you have the laconic logo, you have the so-called bril, a belt, you have an enriched belt, you have an ornament, and we want people to use it. And we arrive to the now what? Well, now we expect people to apply it. And we have the first case where a manufacturer of number plates reaches out and says, oh, but your belt looks so nice. Can I use it on number plates? We go, yeah, please use it. And suddenly you have thousands of number plates. Then you have somebody else using the little logo as a decoration for their garment. And it works nicely. And this is all now what? Which is apply this brand and promote this brand and just, you know, use this brand as much as you want. The moment we designed the Tree of Life brand, we fought with the Ministry of Tourism back in the day to keep it open to everyone. Because the Ministry of Tourism wanted to have a royalty applied. They wanted this brand to be used strictly with royalties, which we said, it's crazy, we shoot it in the head. We should leave everyone and let the freedom of use it, but based on a permission, you know, not to have it in a simple free distribution to everyone. You need to write a request and receive a permission and use it. And this is how, you know, conferences were organized using this identity. The same identity was present in our Moldexpo, in our Expo Dubai 2020. And Moldova has actually won the Superfans prize for the best logo of the exhibition, ironically. Superfans are the people who actually visited every stand, and there are more than 200 stands in Dubai Expo. And they had a separate prize for Moldova. That we had two prizes. One prize was for the best logo of the stand, and the second prize was for the best team working on the stand. We had probably the most engaging and the most open and the most friendly team on the stand. Then you could see it in the passports. If you have a modern Moldovan passport, you will see it in the passport as well. You could see it on the national team jersey. And you could also see it on Eurovision at the back of the stage. Last year, when Zdop invited everyone to their party in Eurovision, this is how people wrote, you know, after their Trenulețul, people would write in comments, thank you so much, Zdop, thank you so much, Moldova, for inviting us to your party tonight. Yeah. They also had the Tree of Life as an element of decor. So this is the storytelling behind the Tree of Life. We have identified the objective. We've seen clearly the problem that we have. And that problem wasn't about blaming someone. This is very important. Defining a problem by blaming someone is not actually defining a problem. We didn't say that our problem is the fact that our authorities do nothing. No. We said that our problem is that we look too generic. Then we came up with what we have learned, and we came up with a big idea. We've created a sufficient number of tools to apply this brand everywhere, the story behind it, which is the so what. And finally, we provided this and provided ways to implement it to everyone, which responds to the question, now what? So this is the next assignment, for you to think of the story arc of your product and your brand. What are the objectives that you have right now? What is the problem that you experience? What is the true nature of that problem? What have you learned from it? What is your big idea? Oh, this is very important. You know, when you design a storytelling about a product, try and compress it into one sentence and check if the sentence is strong enough to become a headline in a newspaper. Because if it isn't, your product doesn't have a story yet. So you still need to work on it. You still need to, think about the value of it. Come back to the big idea behind it. And then finally, how do you make this story relevant or more exciting? And a key word is relevant. Very often we see entrepreneurs trying to make their stories exciting. They use exclamation marks. By the way, in our agency, exclamation marks are forbidden. When we work on slogans for our customers, if there is an exclamation mark, it's a sign that we didn't work good enough, because we're trying to amplify it by adding an exclamation mark. If the message of your product, if the story that you have, if the headline that you have has an exclamation mark in the end, it means it needs work. It needs to be improved. It's not strong enough. But to make it strong, we need to make it relevant, not exciting, but relevant. It needs to be relatable, and people need to connect to it. Right. So do we have questions so far? I see that we have a couple more messages in chat.
Yes, we do have a question from Elena Boladel. How to map the journey if you're just starting and you don't sell the product directly, or you don't interact directly? Should you make a survey?
All right, that's a very good question, because there are basically 3 kinds of journey maps. One journey map is an actual journey map, which represents the journey customers have with the product. Another journey map is a so-called desired journey map, where you take the actual and you try and modify it a little bit, and you arrive to a desired journey map. But the third one, which I think is the more relevant in this case, is a so-called future journey map. You don't have the product yet defined, no problem. Design the journey. Sit down with your team and, together, just tell them, okay, we have our average customer. Our average customer doesn't know anything about us. Suddenly they knew about us from advertising, or a friend told them. What do they feel? What do we want them to feel? Then they call us. How do they call us? How do they contact us? So what you basically do, you create a so-called future journey map, something that would be ideal for you. It's still very relevant. Why? Because the decisions you are going to take about the product, they will not be spontaneous or reactive. Like, oh, let's buy, I don't know, let's buy a new porch, or let's invest in this refurbishment, or we need to paint this wall, or we need to buy this painting. No, wait a second. We have a future journey map. These are the touch points that we see. These are the emotions that we want to create. The decisions that we take right now, do they fall into this journey map or not? So, yeah, we did this a couple of times for some of our customers, where the product was still designed. One of the customers, for instance, is the Vara Aqua City in Chisinau. They approached us when the product wasn't there. So we sat down with them and we designed this future journey map, where we have mapped the touch points that we have and the emotions that we want to create with the customers. They worked for 1 season. They have captured the actual journey map, and we can see where the gaps are. But still, we didn't work reactively or spontaneously at the beginning. We had a vision. So yeah, just create a future journey map together with your team and works towards that. I hope it answers the question. Do we have more questions?
Not for now, but I have one. In this case, while we do the design journey map, shall we use extrapolation of the situation and brainstorm on the case? Is that the right method to do, or
I think that
some other techniques?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that what you can do, you can consume together with your team the product of your competitor, or the product of somebody who is close to you, not necessarily competitor. Let's call it this way. Let's apply ecosystem thinking. Let's not speak competitors, but your partner on the market, somebody who does something similar to what you do, several who do something similar to what you do. You consume their product, but not with the objective to provide a generic answer. Oh, that product is good or that product is bad. No, you map the journey that you already have on the market, because you are going to launch something on an existing market. And you begin the brainstorming exercise, as you called it a bit earlier, but having some inputs. You already know what is on the market. You already observed that, wait a second, these guys have a really magical moment here. Maybe we could borrow that. And by the way, here, speaking of originality, lots of entrepreneurs try to be 100% original. What they do is only what they do. And I think it's a big limitation. Because in the end, if you take a look at the hotel sector, you will see that many hotels do the same things. Moreover, you need to do some of the things because people expect it. You don't need to do everything your way. You could do some of the things because others do it and the customers feel familiar with it. So I think it's very useful to try the products of other companies in your segment, to observe carefully, maybe to observe yourself, to be a spectator in this, not to judge, but to simply mention down, oh, that was nice, probably. That was, here it could be improved. And begin the brainstorming exercise having this. I can give you another example of somebody who did that. You know, Dmitry Voloshin with his baths, he has Voloshinskaya Banya.
Yeah.
He launched it recently. Well, I can tell you that he probably visited maybe 50 baths everywhere in the world. His way of thinking is really design, it's design kind of thinking. So he visited over 50 locations in the country and outside the country to understand and to better shape the journey that he wants his customers to have. So yeah, I hope it answers the question. Do we have more questions?
So that means in the second part of the exercise, by doing designing, you need to emphasize the competitive points of your product. Like you need to emphasize and focus on what you can do better than your competitors or what you've learned from the market.
That's one way to put it, but I think that there is this expression that comparison is a thief of joy. If you compare yourself to somebody else, you lose the joy in it. Or I'll give you another example. Imagine you go to a concert and you're having a great time in front of the stage, just amazing time. But then you think to yourself, well, but a couple of years back, I was to that concert and that was probably a bit better than this time. And suddenly the joy is gone. So I would say your objective is different. Your objective is to come up with a great newspaper headline about your product. It's not about you being better than somebody else. It's not about you having so-called USPs, unique selling propositions. It's not that much about differentiation. It's about getting a vision of what is sensational about your product. And the sensation behind your product may not necessarily be in the same dimension as your competitors. For instance, your competitors may have, exquisite interiors in their rooms. They may have lots of money spent in specifically the amenities and the premises. But your sensation is going to be about something else. Maybe about a human connection. Maybe about the connection with the nature. Maybe self-discovery. Maybe your sensation is going to be meditational. I don't know. So yeah, I'm always careful when we talk about the competitors, and I'm always careful about comparing myself to others, because there are two ways. One way is you trying to be better than somebody else, but I prefer the other way, you trying to be better than yourself. And that one is a bit more difficult, to be honest. Because being better than competitors is easy. I mean, just do something better than them and that's it. But it's also, you depend on them. If they don't move, you don't move. So I'd rather, put in front of me another objective. We need to come up with an amazing newspaper headline about our product. what is the sensation behind our product. I don't care about the competitors. What is the sensation that we're going to create with our product? That suddenly becomes much more difficult, you know, because yeah, I hope it answers.
Yeah, something, say it in one word, like how it feels in one word.
Put one sentence. One word can be a little difficult, but put one sentence about your product. Does this sound sensational? If it doesn't, let's work on it. Let's dive deeper. Let's try and understand. Maybe we shouldn't be, you know, the most typical expression of a product in Moldova sounds like this: the best quality to price ratio. Cel mai bun raport preț-calitate. Which to me is a complete BS, because everybody else says the same thing. It's nothing. Yeah, you need to find a true sensation in it, you know. So the moment you tell your friends, the moment you tell your relatives, they go, "Ooh, that sounds interesting," or they begin to criticize you. They begin to tell you, "Oh, that's a huge promise. Can you deliver it?" That's a good sign, because it means it creates, you know, it creates response. But if it's flat, if it's the same, choose us because we have the best quality to price ratio, it's dead on arrival. I mean, you didn't even start, but you already put yourself in the line of lots of offers on the market. And yeah, why do you deserve my attention as a customer?
Actually, we are in process. Teams are in process to determine a slogan of the team related to the village and what they are going to discover in that village.
That is amazing.
Yeah, we are in process of trying that equation.
All right, use the tools that I provided you until now, especially the jobs to be done and the value. Try and look at that map and tell yourself, do I want to be in the functional side of the value? Like I reduce time, or sorry, I save time, or, you know, I would aim to the top of the value chain and say, I want to be a place where people change when they arrive there. You know, one of the ideas to position Moldova as a country that we have discussed, and it was used for a brief moment in time. We looked at an example of, we observed the customer again. It wasn't intuition, we observed the customer. And I have a good colleague who works in the Publicis group, who achieved the position of a group director in Europe in Publicis, and was responsible for all the communication for such brands as Audi, Renault, and Nestle. Huge position. He went through a great career and a massive burnout. There was a moment, he told me, there was a moment when he couldn't simply get out of bed because he didn't have enough force to get out of bed. He had a beautiful long hair, sorry for the details, but he had a beautiful long hair. He literally shaved his head. He bought a very good camera, and he came to Moldova. He was here on a business assignment a couple of years ago. And yeah, he was here. He just was in a hotel, flew in, spent the night in a hotel, flew back. But this time he bought 10 days in a hotel, and he flew in here in Moldova all by himself with his camera. He was walking around. He was taking photos. He went to our central market. He has taken a lot of photos there. He asked me if he can come to the agency and photograph people. And I said, yeah, sure, you can. For him, it was a true healing experience. He actually found himself during this time. You know, he redefined his identity. He answered to the question what he is. He connected back to his creative side. And for him, it was truly a therapeutic experience. You could say this is a very narrow example. Not many people go for that. And I will agree with that. Probably it is the case. But his experience was really profound. And it made me think, you know, we provided as a country, we wanted or we didn't want it, but it happened so. To him, we provided as a country the top value, the self-transcendence. We helped him go through something in his life. And if you ask me, I would rather appeal to a smaller number of customers, but have really profound experiences, than try and get as many customers as possible and having superficial experiences. I'd rather have 100 Daniels, his name is Daniel, living something like that here in this country, than have 1,000 Daniels who simply come, eat, sleep, and go. Why do I say that? Well, very, very, very simple, because Daniel, after that experience, he posted his photos on Instagram. And he told a completely different story about Moldova. He didn't tell a typical story like nice food, nice place, nice people. Yeah, everything is nice. Hello, goodbye. I'm happy. Yeah, thank you. He said something. He told a completely different stories. He revealed textures of this country. He revealed characters. Not all of them very happy and cheerful, but all of them very human, very relevant, and very genuine. That's the word, you know. He didn't do advertising. He really told a different story. And when people see that story in Daniel's Instagram, people see a different value of the country, you know. So yeah, can we move on? Do we have more questions here?
Sure, we can move. Thank you for advice.
Perfect. All right. Going over with how again, because we spoke right now that an element of how is to use storytelling, is to build a story about your product. This is how you promote a product. But there is another crucial element in how, which is often overlooked. And it's called testing, testing, testing. If you ask me, the best hygiene in developing successful products is a cycle of observing, creating hypotheses, doing change, and then testing if that change actually improved. And then observing again hypothesis, again change, and again testing. Many of the entrepreneurs avoid testing. They think they know the customer, they think they know the market, and many of them don't test stuff before launching. You asked me a very good question. How do you develop a journey if you haven't yet launched? Well, I'll give you a couple of tools. First tool is called Pickfu. It's a website where you can launch any question to an international audience, and you can choose your audience. If I'm not mistaken, you can choose audiences in the United States, in Europe. You can choose the age of your audience. You can choose their demographic profile. And you can ask them anything. You can provide two bottles, two designs of your product. As you see here, somebody is testing two kinds of packaging. And you can simply ask them, choose the one that you like the most. Or if you want, you can provide them with a couple of stories of your journey. And you say, we are a destination about to open. Here are 3 possible scenarios of spending time in our village. Which one appeals to you the most? Which one do you connect to better? Which one do you like more? And you pay as much, if I'm not mistaken, $1 per answer. Maybe even less. But this helps you quickly test something, test your hypothesis. For instance, we sat down together with our team. We've created a customer journey. We've hit a couple of dilemmas. Some of the people in the team think that we should put an emphasis on the cuisine. Some of the team say that we should put an emphasis on discovery. So it's very simple. You write a couple of paragraphs, you publish them on Pickfu, you invest a little money, and you have already saved yourself a huge cost of a mistake. Because what happens very often, because products are not being tested, investments are being made in advertising, in the way the product feels, and then in the end, it can be a very costly mistake. So whatever testing you do before the launch, you're actually reducing the cost of the mistake. Another tool is called a prototype. Not a prototype, but a prototype. And I'll tell you how it functions. So you have the first chart on the top. Somebody has the idea, somebody creates a prototype, and finally improves on the prototype, registers the feedback of the customers, and comes up with a final product. But there is another way. You have an idea, and I'll give you a very specific case. Working with the Dima Voloshin, he had an idea for a device that swimmers could put behind their swimming cap that could communicate through the bone. And when the swimmer was swimming, the coach could tell in real time what does the swimmer do wrong. This is a big problem in swimming because normally you would see coaches yelling or waving their hands at swimmers. The swimmers do mistakes. They come back to the coach. The coach would say, well, you did this and that mistake, but it's too late because they already made a mistake. So having this real-time coaching device actually solves the problem, but it's it's a very expensive thing to do. So what we did with Dima, we created a landing page for the device without having the device. And in this landing page, we opened the orders for the device. We said, this is how it will look. This is what it will do. This is how much it costs. If you like it, buy it. And that immediately showed interest for the product. If we have lots of orders, we tell the customers, oh, thank you for the orders. Great. Our deliveries are going to be in a couple of months. If you're ready to wait, okay. If not, we can return the money, no problem. But we've tested already the power of the idea. But if we have no orders at all, then it means we have to work on it. We have to improve the idea. Maybe we have to improve the pricing. Maybe we didn't get the jobs to be done right. Maybe our story is not good enough. But what we have now is not worth prototyping. The most compelling story of a prototype, you see, it's not a prototype, but it's a prototype with an E, is the story of the Tesla Roadster by Elon Musk. Elon Musk didn't have the car the moment he started selling it. He just took the blueprints of Lotus Elise. He discussed with some engineers what could this car reach as parameters. And he put that projection in a landing page and asked the customers to do reservations. He actually used the money that he got from reservations. I think it was about $5,000 for a place in the queue. He used all that money to design the actual car. This is the greatest example of doing a prototype. So let's say you imagined something great, a great product about your village, and you want to test it. You can do a peak food test, no problem. You can write a story there and simply tell the customers, rate it from 1 to 10 to see and tell us how compelling it is to you, and just see what the customers say and why. Another way to test it is to do a prototype, to create a landing page where you have the story, where you have the product described, but the product doesn't exist yet, and where you let people order it and see by the number of orders whether people like it or not. Another way of testing that we did a couple of times is simple Google Forms, as simple as that. Here in the agency, we run a brand that is called Play Natal, which is actually a brand of t-shirts, sweatshirts that have beautiful, very local messages. And before launching this brand, we had 96 designs of t-shirts, and we liked all of them. When I spoke to the team, they said, yeah, all of them are great. We just love them. But it's unrealistic for us to produce 96 designs in sufficient quantities. So we did a Google form where we posted each design in a Google form, and we gave 3 options of answer. One option, I like it. Another option, I don't like it. The third option, I would buy it, because I like it and I would buy it. It's not always the same. And the fourth option is, I'm not sure. After doing this test with our relatives, with our friends, we've sent it to everyone we know in our social connections. We've received about 110 answers, and we've narrowed the whole collection to just 10 designs. And I think this is what made the product successful in the end. Today, we have maybe 7 designs, but they are really, really, really desired by the customers. You can see them here. We have the Dei Foiale design. This one is probably the top seller. Then we have La Sagelia, and then one of the most beautiful gifts you could give to a loved one, a beautiful sweatshirt that says Alentatura. I mean, who knows this word? You know what it means. And to be honest, if we didn't make that test, we'd probably produce some designs that we liked, but not necessarily the customers would like. Or we would produce all of them. And then we would ask ourselves, but why people don't buy it? Maybe it's because of the price. Let's reduce the price. And this is how most of the businesses fail. They launch something untested. They rely too much on the intuition of the founders. They don't have the connection with the customer. The product doesn't have traction. They think the problem is in the price. And this is how many businesses fail. So here, another assignment for you is you definitely have hypotheses about your product. You definitely have hypotheses about the village, of course. You definitely have hypotheses about the customer journey. So the question is, how do you validate this hypothesis? What kind of tools are you going to use? How do you make sure that you don't simply rely on your own intuition or on the intuition of the team? We've seen so many times that teams may have a charismatic, enthusiastic leader, and everybody is contaminated with that enthusiasm and goes, yeah, we believe it's going to work. It's great. They don't validate their hypothesis and they head in the wrong direction. So the question is, how do you validate the product hypothesis that you have? What tool are you going to use out of those that I presented? Or maybe you have your own tools to validate. You know, talking to somebody is already a great way to validate it. Why do I ask this question? Because it's actually a question of how do you reduce the cost of the mistake? We have companies coming to us saying, all right, we have this amazing product and we have this huge promotion budget. Let's do promotion. And I usually start asking them, all right, what is your research budget? I see that you have a healthy promotion budget, but what is your research budget? Oh, we don't need research. All right, then it means you're not serious about this launch. Because you compromise a huge promotion budget, not having the truth about the customer, not having the truth about the market, and you're going full blind. And usually we tell them, you have 100,000 euros to promote your product, invest 5,000 euros into research to validate all the hypotheses that you have about the product. And this way you will reduce dramatically the cost of a possible mistake. All right, do we have questions so far? We don't have questions, yeah? We can move on?
Yes, I have.
All right.
Eugen, you are talking to very simple people.
Sure.
We're trying to promote our villages, and actually we are trying, it's just only the beginning of the beginning. With no money, only enthusiastic. We understand very well what you're talking about. But if we are talking about the budgets for promotion or research, it's really something fantastic for us. But anyway, what you are telling us, it's there are some laws we can use in our research for own forces.
Well, I'll try to answer the question, although I'm not very sure what the question is, but I'll try to answer.
It is not a question. It is a comentario.
Commentary, perfect.
Because you are talking with us about Dima Voloshin, and we are following him. We are cum îl urmărim.
Îl știți, da.
But we cannot be compared with him.
Yes, but that's why I have slides like this one, because the slide that you see here, the cost of research was 0. We did a Google form. We set the questions, and we addressed the friends in our communities. It only cost us some time to put the questionnaire together, the Google form, and it cost us some time to process it afterwards. Yes, I'm giving you the full set of tools. Some of them are expensive, but this is not expensive. You can do that. Moreover, we all, have this love-hate relationship with social networks. Some people love social networks, some people hate social networks, but I use it for research all the time. You formulate your question.
Me too.
Yeah, you formulate your question. You can be honest with the audience. You can tell them, look, I'm working on something important right now for me, for my family. I'm working on, you can dramatize it. You could say that I'm trying to bring life back into a village in Moldova, and I need your answer to a couple of simple questions. Here's a questionnaire. It will take you 5.5 minutes to answer it. Can you please invest 5.5 minutes of your time to answer it? You'd be surprised how receptive people can be. I can tell you more. Full pandemics. We launched the Nyam Pornit campaign back then in tourism, if you remember that campaign. And we launch it with the premise. We say, look, we can launch whatever we want, but we need to tell the professionals in Moldovan tourism the truth about the customer, because everything changed. The pandemics changed everything. So we need to give them the data to work with. So it was obvious that we need to make a research and understand what Moldovans actually want as a touristic product, because, the biggest objective back then was to make Moldovans visit Moldovan touristic sites, but we didn't know what they like. We only had intuition. What do Moldovans like? I don't know, food. They go to Asconi to eat and drink. Okay, so we need to have food everywhere. So it was clear we need to make a research. So the Agenția de Investiții launched a questionnaire, and it was a voluntary questionnaire. It simply addressed the public and said, look, we need to help our tourism providers know the customer better. Can you take a moment and fill it? We've received over 10,000 questionnaires filled. And we've seen some truths that were mind-blowing. The number one category of touristic sites that represent interest for Moldovans. Try to guess what is it. If you didn't see the research, if you saw it, you probably know. But what do you think is number one category of touristic sites interesting to Moldova? Some people said, well, probably they like wineries. No, it's not number one. Others said, well, I don't know, restaurants. Probably they like restaurants. No. Probably they like nature. No. They like churches and monasteries. This is the number one category chosen during that research. And we were, it was crazy to discover that there was no product for it. People simply took cars and went by themselves to a church or to a monastery, not to have a religious ritual, but just to come and see it. So I think any kind of research you can afford is beneficial. You don't need budgets to make research. You need to have a strong will to make research. And when there's a will, there's a way. You can use a Google form if you want. You can go lo-fi and do personal interviews with the people that you know. You can go on social networks, create a little drama there and say that, look, this is the most important decision I make in my life. Help me do it right. Fill this questionnaire. And you'll be surprised how many people will answer.
If I can add something, remember that you are in the international program. So you can ask your mentor, and probably mentors can help you prepare some Google form or something like that, and we can make some free research on Facebook in the Moldova and in the Polish side. So we are always really often using Facebook groups, especially to make some simple research. Do you prefer this title or this title? Do you like it or not? And in Polish group, especially in the Polish women entrepreneurs group, it is super popular to make this kind of research, and asking about this kind of thing is something is a normal, and we are using these tools, and is for free. Like I tell my client, we need money or time. So if you don't have money, you need time. So if you don't have this money, you need to put more time to your project to prepare something. And remember, you can use our network, our program network, to do this research. And I think it's a good time to you, even to make this research. You can tell more with your mentors about this topic. If you think that is important and you want to make some research, I think it's a good moment for you, and you don't need money in the beginning.
Yeah, but then if you have money, it's great.
Yes, of course, it's always great.
It's just great, because if you have money, you can be very targeted in terms of who do you speak to, what is the methodology that you use. But yeah, I think that, you know, ironically, any kind of research is better than no research. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So I think we can go forward. Now, we spoke about the product, like, you know, a destination, a village, maybe a touristic product. But there is one more aspect that we need to talk about, is the case when the product is the talent. Because when we spoke with Tatiana, what should we cover during this session? We said, yes, some of the people in the program work on a product, but some people in the program are actually talents that are looking to scale their competences, to become more relevant to bigger audiences, to grow. So what do you do when your product is a talent? Well, you could go through the same framework that I have just discussed. It actually applies to any kind of product. Let's do and try and understand what is the functional aspect of a talent and what is the value aspect of the talent. You know, I'm always trying to see where the value is. I very rarely care about pure function. I think function should contribute to the value, but not the other way around. So we perfectly understand that the function of a talent is to get tasks done. You know, you have certain competences. So what you actually achieve as a function, you just get tasks done. But what is the value that a talent can bring? That's a big question. I think everyone can think about it. I think that the key value that a talent could put on the table is actually the relationship. And, you know, you can read many books, especially in the creative domain. It's not always that the top performers are the most appreciated. I have even seen it in special forces in the United States. When they choose to put an elite team together, they don't simply choose top performers. You know, they don't choose them who have the best function. They usually give much more value to the relationship aspect. They choose the people that can build a strong relationship, that can be dependable, that can make other people feel secure. And one of the key elements of building a strong relationship in creative domain is the ability to manage expectations. You know, it took me more than 10 years to understand that. Why? Because, you know, as talents, we tend to want a best outcome for the client. We tend to want that. We generally want our client to have the best outcome, and we tend to overpromise all the time. You know, the client tells us, can you do this and that? And we say, yes, we can. Could you do it in a day? I can try to do it in a day, because we want so much the client to be happy. And usually this is the first sign that it's not a mature talent. It's a talent that just, you know, makes the first steps. So I would suggest that you maybe reflect a little bit on this. If you're a talent looking to scale your presence, to scale your number of clients, to increase the profile of clients you work with, and ask yourself not only of what kind of tasks you can do, but ask yourself what kind of relationships can you provide. To be honest, inside my team, we say that the most precious thing that we have is not the building we're in, is not the competences that we have, it's the relationships that we manage to build between us. and with our clients. And the biggest value that we can provide to the client, and I think the reason we are usually chosen over other companies and over other talent, is the simple feeling that with us, the client will figure their problems out. We will figure it out. It's as simple as that. But then, you know, if we take relationship as a starting point, we could go through the same thing as we worked with our product previously. First, we observe the clients that we already have. We try to understand their true jobs to be done. You'll be amazed that many clients declare some objectives in their briefs, but they have a completely different objectives. If you're working with corporate clients, when I say corporate, I mean clients from big companies, and you as a talent service them, sometimes you think that their objective is to increase sales or to grow their brand. But very often it happens that their objective is to stay in the organization, to protect their position, to deliver something that is within expectations, not something great, but something clearly within expectations, to have a stable output. So then again, speaking of the relationship, you ask yourself, what value do you bring in this relationship? Do you bring the value, the comfort of your client knowing that they will figure everything out with you? Do you bring that kind of value to the relationship? Do you bring the value of competence? Do you bring the value of empathy? Empathy is a huge thing. You know, if a client is about to choose between two creative talents, one being incredible, having great awards, international awards for their work, but being a jerk, and another one having mediocre performance, but having great empathy, without hesitation, they will go for the second one. Because people are used to work with people that get people, you know. We don't have time to waste with people that don't get us. We want people that get us, that understand us, that feel the same way we do. Then I think the next point is very applicable. What is the journey of working with you? How do people find out about you? How do they establish the first contact? How do you come through? You come through insistent, you come through aggressive, you come through soft. What is your tone of voice that you work with the clients? How do you want to see yourself? Do you want to see yourself as an expert who will tell the client what to do? Or do you want to see yourself as an ally? That's also a very interesting question. I'm usually addressed as an expert, but I don't want to be an expert. I want to be an ally. I don't want to tell you what to do. I want to figure out things together with you. I will put all my talent into this, but I'm not going to be in a position to simply tell you what to do. I want to listen actively to where you are, to what your problems are at the moment, what the insights do you have, what is that you don't see maybe. And then we together, and me being an ally, we'll figure it out together. And finally, this one is probably the most interesting. What is your story? What makes you deserve attention, interest? What makes you deserve a little memory? Why should I remember you? Why would I remember you as a professional, as a talent? Yeah, I think you need to first work on this. This is the what about you as a creative talent. This is not how yet. These are really the questions, the what. And the moment you have it nailed, I can tell you that you can start working for a dream client right now. Like, you can think for yourself, what is my dream client? Who would I be happy to work with? I'm doing videos. What kind of band would I be happy to shoot a music video for? Or if I'm providing marketing services, what brand do I feel that I want to work with the most? Who is my dream client? And you can start working for them right now. Why do I say this? There is a great case. I love it. It happened in 2012 when a student who studied graphic design presented Microsoft rebrand. He just said, look, Microsoft is getting old. I think it looks dusty. This is how I see the future of Microsoft. His name is Andrew Kim, of this young designer student, and he presented what was called the next Microsoft. A very clean, a very minimal work on how Microsoft could look. Nobody asked him to do that. He was eventually hired by Microsoft because they observed his work. And he worked on many beautiful projects afterwards, like Xbox, Windows, and other projects. So what can we learn from this example? This is not the only example. I can tell you I did it many times. I have a beautiful client. I don't care if I have their contacts or not. I don't care if I have a relationship with somebody there right now or not. What I'm going to do, I'm going to invest a bit of my passion, a bit of my talent, and I'll do work for them, and I'll get noticed. So what do we learn from this kind of case? First, care for detail. You don't rush when you do this kind of things. If you found the client you want to work with, you create beautiful work for them. You care for the details. Second, you put in hard work. Consider it an investment. Then there is depth. You find out more about the client. You're not superficial. You're not, lots of people hate Microsoft, hate Windows. Andrew said, well, wait a second, they're a huge brand and there are beautiful things about them. How can I celebrate them in design? So there is depth in thinking. There is courage, of course. You don't think of yourself as a little starting out designer. You tell yourself, no, I'm not a starting out designer. I'm a studio that can work with Microsoft. So far, I'm a one-man studio, but I can work with Microsoft. It takes a lot of courage to think like that. Many creative people have so-called constraints thinking. You maybe noticed it in brainstorming sessions when you sit down and you go, all right, we have this objective to create this brand. And then somebody puts a bold idea on the table and everybody goes, ooh, no, the competitors did that. Ooh, oh, that's too expensive. Ooh, that is not going to work. We will not find budgets for that. That's called constraint thinking, which means now when you generate ideas, don't put yourself constraints, just generate them. The moment you finish generating ideas and you got the best out of you, then you put in constraints and you do the triage and you say, all right, we have all this on the table. Which one stands better? But many creative professionals do this mistake of killing the babies straight in the middle of the brainstorming session. So, but it takes a lot of courage to think of yourself without the constraints and tell yourself, look, I want to work for Apple. I think they have a product that has a problem right now, which is Apple Pro, the Mac Pro computers. It is troublesome right now. It doesn't sell well. It's not very loved. I want to change that. And I'm an agency able to change that. I don't care I'm in Moldova. I don't care I'm one person. If I'm one person, how would I approach that? It takes a lot of courage. And finally, this one is the most important, is generosity. Because you're being generous towards that brand. You're investing yourself, you're creating beautiful work, you're putting your heart into it. There is a lot of generosity going forward. You're giving, you're not taking at this moment. And I can tell you that today it's the strongest tool of promoting a talent. Because generosity creates a depth on the other side. Imagine you're working in that company and suddenly you see somebody put so much love into this and you go, man, I have to do something about it. They've put so much love into this. I have to at least recognize it. And in most cases, if we speak about big brands, they would usually praise you. Nobody's going to tell you, oh, why did you do this work for us? We didn't order. They will tell you, this is amazing work. Some of the brands would even celebrate you. They would post you on their socials and say, wow, did you see this? But in some cases, they may reach out to you and tell you, look, you got a couple of things right. Let's work. We have this little assignment. Obviously, you feel the brand. Obviously, you know what the brand needs. Let's do some work together. Let's try something and see if it works. So once again, you can start working for a dream client right now. You don't need connections. You don't need a lot of things you think you need. You don't need that. You can start working on it right now. And here are the questions, probably the final question I will leave you with as a creative talent is to think, who is the dream client that you would like to work for? Make a list of brands. And the second question is very simple. What can you create for them today? What kind of project can you put in your pipeline and decide to work on today? And then it's up to you. If you want, post it on the social networks, share it with the world. If you want, send it to them directly and tell them, look, guys, I love your brand. I'm a starting designer. I just, here's a bit of love I've created for your product. Tell me what you think. It may happen that 9 out of 10 brands will not answer and will simply, ignore that. But I think that the ones who will answer, you will build very strong relationships with them. And if I was a starting creative talent right now, I would go this way. And I would think, what can I improve on the functional side? Of course, as creatives, we always think about that. I want to do more. I want to increase the quality of my work, but it's all functional. But at the same time, I would think, how do I build relationships? How do I nurture the relationships I have right now? Where do I invest generosity? And where do I invest my talent? What are the brands I would dream to work for? Yeah, having this said, I thank you for the attention during this session. And I think I'm going to stop sharing, if you don't mind. Ooh. Okay. And let's maybe have a little Q&A right now, if we have questions.
We have thanks. No questions for now. But I would like to follow your thoughts, last thoughts about what should a talent do in order to scale up. Because InnoVillage is meant for talent scaling, and what we do during this project, we have two big stages of talent development, which is research and then development. And here during InnoVillage program, they have opportunity to develop their village, the assets, the sites, the heritage, the elements that are component in the village, in the future product, let's say, creative product. And then they have the opportunity to experiment their talent, to try to go in deep, to see the village in detail, to have the courage to come up with ideas in the team. And I see it's happening. Like I have access to Teams chat, and I'm very happy to see the process when WhatsApp is blinking, ping, 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 ping. That's in the rhythm of heart, let's say like that metaphorically. But I'm happy to see that people are curious, people are involved, people have courage to propose, to come up with ideas, to debate on ideas. So let's do that. Let's add this one. It looks great. It needs improvement and all this stuff. Finally, yes, it's big, with big bold, it is about generosity, because talents during this program are not rewarded directly financially, but it's an investment in their talents, because we are here to promote their talents as well. Because we aim to develop their profile on innovillage.com.md, and to promote further and link their talent with the digital solution they will create. And further, we are gonna promote promote that information on our channels, project channels, very actively in Moldova and in Poland. And the next opportunity to do that, it's going to happen in June, and 20th of June, where will be the final event, the demo event, where the teams will present their digital solution and will tell their journey, their adventure, InnoVillage adventure during this program. So, and we would like to have you at our final event, and we are sending a live invitation now. And hopefully you are gonna come, because it's gonna be an open event, and every person, like very important actor in the tourist value chain and marketing, ICT sector and tourist tech sector, you are welcome to come with your friends as well.
Thank
Please
you so much.
by your network.
Thank you so much. But I have to confess something.
Yes, of course.
Just like you guys, I'm also in a learning process right now. And I actually think I like this quote a lot. I don't remember who said that, but it sounds like this: the biggest obstacle to learn something new is the thought that you already know it, you know? So I'm telling myself all the time, whatever you think you know about marketing, about branding, about building products, the moment you think that you know it, means that you will stop learning in it. So I'm also in a learning process right now. And in June, I think I'm going to be in my school back in London. But if I'm there in Chisinau, I will definitely visit. What I would only suggest to the teams, I probably didn't emphasize it enough. I see some hands raised and I will answer the questions. But what I would only suggest to the teams is to remember that people usually connect to stories, you know. And if you take this and if you also look for depth, because the tree of life, it looks beautiful, but we've created 13 concepts that were all deemed superficial, that were refused before we created tree of life. We've created 13 logos that we were lucky that USAID back at the time simply said, this is superficial, it doesn't work. It's too superficial. So we had to dig deeper. This is how we went to the museum. And this is how we discovered the stories that are really deep. So what I would suggest is two things. One is remember that people connect and people embrace stories. So I'm sure there are beautiful stories in the villages that you work on, but to get them, you need to get really deep. If there is a museum in the village, probably you should be there learning all the myths and legends and rituals of the village. If not, talk to the elders and try and find out things that, you know, that are probably almost lost right now. And yeah, I think you could find some gems there and celebrate it. I see Anya has a question. I guess the raised hand is, yeah.
Yes, hi. Yeah, I've got a question because I'm a little bit confused, but also because I'm like a planning freak. So I would like to know if we should focus first on activities on the village, like what we should promote, like brainstorming of what actually we should focus on, or we should focus now first on the slogan, or actually on what we actually wanted to promote in the village, if that makes sense.
It's a great question. I think I'll be careful to tell you, I'll tell you my subjective opinion, but maybe you should talk to the program leaders to get more guidance. But I always start with what, you know, there is this saying by Washington that goes like this: give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will use 4 hours to sharpen my axe. So what I would suggest is that before starting and thinking about activities, before starting and thinking about the digital product you will work and promotion, first make sure you know through and through the village itself. You know what is great about it. You know the stories of this village. You know the myths of this village. You know the little rituals that exist in the village. Then do a triage when you have all that and identify 2 free things. That's what I would do. Identify 2 free, potentially 1 thing that you believe is sensational.
Mm-hmm.
If it isn't sensational enough, think what can make it sensational. And then try and create your headline. This is not, I wouldn't say a slogan. A slogan, you know, when you say, you can create a slogan, it's fine, if that's your assignment. But try to create a headline that you would see in the news and that would make you go, oh, wait a second, I need to read that. Not a clickbait. That's not what I'm talking about. You know, you have a lot of clickbait. But something like, for instance, we go discover the village where the most ancient European civilization started, for instance. And I'm not lying here. Why? Because Cucuteni, one of the most ancient European civilizations, Tripoli Cucuteni, actually the heart of that civilization was in Moldova.
In Rogojeni.
Sorry?
In Rogojeni. They start to build the earth house in Rogojeni, and they left it till now.
Well, maybe in the Rogojeni they started to build the earth house, but maybe in another place the first knife was made. I don't know. Maybe in another place the first wine was made in this civilization. I don't know. But this is really about going deep and understand what content does the village have today. And, you know, inhaling everything that the village has, then doing a triage, because you will not be able to speak about everything. And you cannot be generic. You can't simply say, discover this village because it has so many things. No. You do a triage, you focus on a couple of things, potentially 1 sensation. That's what I would do. And you celebrate that sensation as much as you can so that this village is known for this thing. The best fish in Moldova is in this village. I don't know. The biggest, the darkest mystery of Cucuteni is in this village. One thing, don't underestimate the power of things that are perceived as negative. Like we have a reflex whenever something is negative, we go, oh, we don't speak about dark things. But Dracula is a very dark legend. And it's a huge legend. I think it's one of the magnets of Romania. One of the key magnets. You have plenty of museums of tortures, and sorry to go into this direction. I'm just saying that whatever the ingredients that you have in the village, if they have energy, they should be on the table.
That's
And
great.
then-
Thank you. Yeah, just based on what you said, I'm just thinking we could actually write all the attraction and then create a Google form and send people, and they can choose what is the best for them, like what they want to see. Yeah.
Yeah, well, here you go. You already have the testing framework. I would only suggest that you maybe put the question right, and you would say on a scale from 1 to 5, how interesting do you find this? And then you have 1 to 5 to different, you know, you call them attractions. Maybe you could find not really attractions, but stories about the village. Because Dracula is not an attraction, it's a story. And, you know, if you want to go to a Dracula castle, it's not really about the castle, it's about the story behind the castle. So maybe you could find stories and then test those stories.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, all right. We have a couple more questions.
We have one suggestion from Tatiana Lupashku. You can use the information collected during the study visit and the research of stories, histories. Use the help of local talents for the research, for in-deep research. I think, yeah, it was the thought. Yeah. And then you can create prototypes, like a story of a pre-product, yeah. And use it in your digital solution to research on it. What is gonna be the most attractive and most eye-catching and most calling in the village. So that may be your digital solution, your innovation in a village program, and you can move forward towards your tourist sustainability in the village, using that digital solution, what brought you closer to the target. Yep. So yeah, this being said, maybe somebody else would like to share some ideas, questions, clarification. You are welcome to present it.
I usually, you know, to make people talk, I usually do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exercise, which is I count until 5. If there are no questions when I say 5, it means, you know, everybody got their answers, and we actually wrap up. But if there are questions, you say that you have a question. All right, shall we do that? So
yeah, before my clarification, our demo day is actually online, and you are welcome to join us. Being abroad, you just need the internet to connect to the link, and you are with us.
Well, then there is very good chance that I will be there. So I will only not be there if I'm in traffic, but otherwise I would definitely, I'd be really interested to see what kind of stories you found about Moldovan villages and how do you celebrate them through your products. Yeah. So let's count until 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And thank you so much for your attention. And, it was fun to deliver you all this information. It was a bit challenging for me to put together, you know, given the objective and the task that you have, but I really hope that what you received today is useful. We can connect on social networks. You can always address questions if you have. I don't promise I will answer right away, but I eventually will answer. It may take some time, but I will answer. And I honestly wish you to find amazing stories, and you know, I wish you to celebrate them beautifully in the products that you create, and I'll be really curious to see what you come up with. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Eugen, for your input today. It is your investment and our gratitude. We are gratitude to you. So you invest your time and shared it with us, your experience, your advice. I am going home with added value from your workshop. So thank you.
Thank you. I will create a PDF of the presentation, send it to Tatiana, and you can always use it as you know, as a checkbox thing. You know, you work on your product, go through the questions that I have there, look at the framework, just check what you have through the framework. And I hope it's going to make your product even more powerful and more appealing. Yeah.
Or
so thank you so much.
I can give you an alternative. First, you accept my friend request on Facebook. Then you accept the invitation in InnoVillage Club. You connect with our community and posted the presentation personally.
Straight into the InnoVillage Club. Okay, I have to be honest with you. I will have to kick out some of my friends because I've reached the limit of 5,000 friends. That's the only reason I didn't accept the friend request. But I'll think of something. I'll do a little triage of my friend list and see. Yeah.
Okay, we can proceed with option 1 as well. Send it via email and I will post in ENA.
Right,
you can follow our community, open community InnoVillage official page, and be in touch with our events, our progress, and just feel the beat of our project ahead.
I will do. Thank you so much. All right, have a great evening then. And yeah, good luck with your projects. I'd be happy to see what do you guys come up with. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. And I wish you a great week ahead.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.